given that this wonderful exhibit at the Annenberg is all about beauty, it's interesting that I was chosen to speak about Create Equal, because it's such a step in the opposite direction of where photography seems to be headed. All the portraits in this book are they're as stripped down and real as can be, whereas most of the photography you see here it's beautified, it's styled, it's been altered in one way or another. To me, what attracted me to photography in the first place is the way it depicts reality so nicely. To me, that's what these personal projects are for me, just an opportunity to show wonderful things in the world. You know, I work in advertising, and there's focus groups, and there's marketing meetings, and there's all this retouching that goes on, and I see that every day in my advertising work. And I just wanted to do something that was honest and real, and that's what this project's about for me. I just want to do something that I could do on my own that wasn't colored by all the committees and all the hands that need to get on all my advertising projects. The people that I photograph, I mean, one thing that's so interesting to me is the physiognomy, the stories that their lives and their faces and their bodies tell. I mean, you can look in their faces and see what their lives are about almost in some of these cases. I love photographs of beautiful people more than anybody, but sometimes an interesting true story is more interesting than a fictional or a fantasy. Each of my portraits is treated the same way, each of my subjects, I mean. The background's the same, the camera angle's the same, the lighting's the same. It's kind of in an effort to make it a catalog of like American anthropology, just all these different Americans, and I could have easily used the environment that they're in. If it's a wealthy person, you show their beautiful house. If it's somebody living in poverty, you can easily show that. I wanted it to be a study of just the people, so you kind of strip away everything, and that's what these backgrounds are about. Because just behind that background is sometimes very interesting stuff. If I'm shooting a cowboy, there's a beautiful scenic behind it, and it's like my assistant would be like, "Why are you getting rid of that? It's so beautiful." But to me, I wanted to be a study of people, not about people in the environments. A lot of people ask how I shot these pictures, and this is the camera I used. It's a twin lens 8x10 that Peter Gowland, who builds custom cameras, made for me, and it's basically two 8x10 cameras that are connected. With a normal 8x10, you've got to frame the shot. You have to focus it. Once you've done that, then you close the lens, cock the shutter, set the aperture, grab a film holder, put it in the camera, pull the dark slide, grab the shutter release. By the time you've done all that, the subject's sitting there going, "What the hell's going on?" Which is why I waited. I had to wait like a year and a half for Peter to make the camera before I could actually start the project, because I was ready to go, but I just needed this camera to do it. I can shoot somebody and they can move forward, backward, left, right. I can follow them. I can follow focus. And in every shot, except for one, there's the focus is exactly on the iris. I mean, there's no, within half an inch, the focus is perfect. And there's one shot that's not, and I'll explain that later. But this camera's amazing. It's got a lot of flaws to it, but it gave me the ability to make these images that I can blow up 5 feet tall. And they were, I don't know if you've seen the shows. Like the Fahey Klein had a show here a couple of years ago, and the 5-foot prints, you can press your nose up against them. And it's almost like you're looking at the actual person. You can look inside the pores. You can see the dust on their eyelashes. You can see what's under their fingernails, and it's an opportunity to study people like you never would in person. Traveling with 8x10 film is a real drag, especially after September 11th. There's been this is kind of how we shot. Before September 11th, which some of these pictures were taken before, it was just a breeze. You just took your film and you ran through the airport, and it was great. Now, there have been so many instances. There was one where I'm getting wanded and frisked and molested, and I look over the guy's shoulder, and there's another guy going through my bag who's opened up the box of exposed film, and he's looking inside. Yeah, which is a drag, but it's luckily the film is opaque enough that it doesn't. The top sheet or two covered the rest of it, and so just the edges get fogged. So it wasn't a total disaster, but it seemed like a total disaster when I saw the open box. You can't really tell airport security, "Hey, don't open that box," because once you say that, then they've got to open the box. You get nowhere with that argument. So what I do now is sometimes just X-ray it. And I found that if I'm not sometimes I'll take trips where I'm going from Alabama to Tennessee to New Hampshire to wherever, and then we're going through 4 or 5 airports, so it gets a lot more radiation that way. So those are the kinds of situations where I try not to get them to X-ray, but ultimately they get their way. The setup I use is very similar to what we do in a studio. It's just